they don't make them like him anymore. I don't know if there is a person that phrase more aptly describes than Alexiev. Practically 5 years ago, I arrived here in Sofia, Bulgaria. I moved to Sofia without ever before having stepped foot in the city or in Bulgaria, and that was largely due to Alexiev. He invited me to come out here and offered to help me resettle here and do some work out here, and I took a chance on it. And I had no idea how much that would change my life and how much of an impact Alex would make on me. It's a little difficult, frankly speaking, for me to shoot this video. 4 years and 11 months to the day, I was walking along this route that I'm now walking with Alex as he gave me my first tour of the Bulgarian capital. I remember walking up to Alexander Nevsky Church right here, and being oh so excited to see it. And I remember Alex taking photos of me, or trying to take photos of me with my phone. He wasn't the best photographer, and he wasn't the best with technology in general, but he was a man who, forgive me for engaging in a little hyperbole here, Alex was a man who seemingly knew everything, had been everywhere, spoke every language, had read every book, and epitomized what it means, or what you would think it would mean, to be a geopolitical analyst. Alex would often talk with me and others about geopolitical analysis. And nowadays, just about anyone who goes online and does a little research and pumps out some sort of YouTube video or article can call himself a geopolitical analyst. And that's the world we live in now. And that's why I say they don't make them like him anymore. Actually, I remember 4 years and 11 months to the day, standing right out here, Alex snapping crooked photos, diagonal photos of me in front of Nevsky. I'll get back to technology in a little while. But with Alex, you weren't getting, when you read something he wrote, when you listen to him talk, you're not getting some distant desk research, as some of us around here like to call it. you're hearing from a man who lived and worked all over the world. I mean, all over the world. It seemed like with every little office chat I would have with him, and those are some things I dearly miss. With every little office chat, I would learn about another country where he lived and worked. For instance, there would be some day I'd go in his office and he would start talking to me about Afghanistan, like of all places. Yeah, he's been there. In fact, he's written a book about the Soviet army inside Afghanistan. I think that's the exact title. Once he told me, maybe it was a little jokingly, maybe not, that he said he thought he'd been to every country in the world except 2. I don't know exactly how many countries he visited. Likewise, I don't know exactly how many languages he spoke. A lot, though. But just as it is with analysts, his perspective on the world from his travel is deeply rooted in experience and knowledge. Nowadays, you have nomads, to some extent, like myself, people who bounce from country to country. They show up, they maybe go on some tours, take some photos, learn a thing or two, learn some facts, drink some beers, maybe they stay and work there for a month. What you don't have are people who have gone country to country and deeply embedded themselves in the country, in the culture, learn the language, learn the politics inside and out. And that's what Alex did. And from what I garnered from talking to him recently is that such a person is indeed a dying breed, and I'll tell you why. Recently, maybe it goes back a year or even 2, I forget. Time does fly. But sometime after Trump was elected president of the US, Alex went to Washington and he was called into some, I believe it was a Pentagon meeting, I'm not positive, but I think some Defense Department meeting. For those of you who aren't aware, Alex had a long career as an analyst, working for think tanks, did plenty of work for the Pentagon as well. So rather recently, after Trump came to power, he went to some meeting in Washington and he was talking about how the government was calling in all their analysts, and who showed up? Lo and behold, only old-timers like him. He was saying that there basically was no new generation of analysts. And to me that makes perfect sense, because if I look around, for that matter, if I look at myself, not that I work for the government, but if I look around at my generation, I mean, who among my generation has lived all over the world? Well, a bunch have, but not only have lived all over the world, but speak 5-10 languages fluently, know the politics inside and out of various regions that are of geopolitical significance. They just don't make them like that anymore. Yet, despite Alex having this absurd amount of knowledge and experience, he might have been the most humble person I have ever known. I remember a couple years ago, to come back, bring things back to technology a little bit, he definitely wasn't the sharpest with technology, but he was very on top of trends with technology. So late in his life, he was giving lectures, or at least one, about big tech censorship. This is an issue he was becoming very interested in recently, and even talking somewhat publicly about it. And also talking about blockchain technology as an alternative, a potential free speech alternative to social media and other media that are controlled and manipulated by big tech companies. So I told him about the website Steemit, this social media platform on a blockchain, and he agreed to join it. And I was helping him make his first post on Steemit, which is basically a bio. To introduce yourself to the community, you basically post your bio. And when it comes to posting your bio on social media, nowadays everyone likes to boast about everything they have or even have not done. People love to talk about how accomplished they are, their jokes about how everyone's got entrepreneur in their bio or their Instagram handle nowadays. Well, with Alex, it's the exact opposite. I had to nudge him just to include some pretty basic facts, yet very impressive accomplishments. So I'd be sitting there talking to him, asking, what are some things we can include about you? And he would say something like, oh, I've written a dozen books, but I don't really want to talk about that. I don't want to build myself up too much. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, who nowadays has lived all over the world, speaks so many languages? I guess I could come back to something on the languages part. I don't know if I will. Lived everywhere, worked everywhere, written books about darn near everywhere. But yeah, he never wanted to boast. He rarely would even want to fashion himself as some sort of expert, even though he really was an expert in numerous fields. But if it wasn't something like, say, the Soviet Union and the Soviet military, which he had written several books about, or later on, he really did make a name with himself, at least within policy circles, as an expert on radical Islam. He's testified before Congress before on Saudi Wahhabism. I mean, if it wasn't something like that, you would never see him fashioning himself as some sort of expert. And even just putting together this Steemit introduction post was such a challenge. He'd accomplished so much, yet wanted to discuss so little about that. And that's I'll never forget sitting with him working on that Steemit post as we come before the former communist headquarters here in the center of Sofia. Yeah, that Steemit post just, I mean, it really summed up Alex to me. The man who's seen it all, done it all, learned it all, but would never give you an inkling of how much he really knew, how much he really accomplished. He was really that humble. Sorry, I'm looking away as I cross the street here in Sofia. I truly miss those moments in his office. There were times when I would go into his office and it would be like I had immediate access to, I want to say, encyclopedia. I mean, to some extent he was a walking encyclopedia. And that now it's so missed. I feel like he left us way too soon. I feel like I had access to this treasure trove of information, immediate access to it, and now it feels like most of it's gone. It's not gone, but there's so much more that I wanted to talk about with him. Actually, for that matter, I wanted to do a bunch of interviews with him, video interviews. I was planning on doing that. The only video the two of us ever did together was, go figure, about social media censorship and blockchain alternatives. There was so much more I wanted to record, because he really was that treasure trove of information. And I do have some regrets. For that matter, when I was having those meetings or discussions with him in his office, looking back, I wish I did more listening and a little less talking. Not that I would be talking the whole time, but I wish I nudged him to talk a little more about his experiences in this country, this continent, because it's not just the information I appreciate, but he's served as a huge inspiration to me over the past 5 years. I'm sure most of you watching this video are aware that I do travel a lot and travel all over the place and try to immerse myself in the geopolitics of different countries. Even though to some extent I feel like I've let him down. When I first came to Sofia, he told me, "Oh, you'll pick up Bulgarian in 3 months." And 3 months went by and I made some progress, and haven't made a whole lot of progress since that point. And it's been like that with probably another couple languages for me, which just goes to show what I keep bringing this back to, that they don't make them like him anymore. But he has certainly been an inspiration and a mentor, and I would say more so a role model to me, as we are now in the ancient city of Serdica section of Sofia, which none of this was, when he first gave me the tour, this was all tarped over, and they were in the process of preparing the ruins to be seen as they are now. I'll give you another quick look at them. But yeah, having seen that his travel and his life all over the world had created this treasure trove of information that's very much inspired me to travel and immerse myself in the geopolitics of various countries and regions. And more so, as I was saying, he was an incredible role model. He is the guy who walks the walk. He talks plenty, and he has an incredible sense of humor. So many conversations with him, I'd be laughing because he's telling jokes all the time, some of which I don't feel are so appropriate to share in this instance. And partly I'm kind of, I don't even know what to take about that. Like, should I have spent a little less time having fun with him and more time trying to get to the serious stuff and learning more and more? But then again, I mean, he was also a role model in that sense. Sometimes I forget to have fun. And just about every conversation with Alex, not only would I be gleaning so much information and so many insights as we come upon the old Turkish bath here in Sofia, but I would be having fun. And in that sense, he was a huge role model to me as well. Someone who showed me I could live this lifestyle, bounce around the world, and have fun while doing it. But at the same time, it seems like there's so much work left to be done. I'm not gifted like he is with language learning. Maybe, I don't know, maybe his passing is gonna inspire me in some new directions. I'm not sure of that, but I can tell you, I think about him so much in my travels, and I'm going to continue. For instance, I was continue thinking of him. Of all things, he would. I don't even remember how it came up to begin with. It came because we had connections. I'm from California, specifically from Los Angeles. He lived and studied in Los Angeles and California, and we met in Central California. So I was going to say that, like, of all things, he would talk with me, both jokingly and seriously, about Ujamaa. Ujamaa is this agrarian-based socialism that was the ideology of the longtime Tanzanian president Julius Nyerere. And I just remembered why that came up. Because he would talk to me about how back during his studies at UCLA in Los Angeles that there were professors with socialist leanings or who were outright socialist, and that he escaped communism in Bulgaria to find people preaching some form or another of it in the US. And little tidbits like that would pique my curiosity, and lo and behold, early this year I found myself in Tanzania learning about Ujamaa. And anecdotes like that and memories of discussions I have with him, I know are going to continue to pop up in my life, in my travels, wherever they take me. And I guess all left to say for now is that, Alex, you are sorely, sorely missed, but you will not be forgotten. And thank you so much for all the opportunity and all the knowledge you have bestowed upon me. And thank you so much for being an incredible role model and a truly one-of-a-kind person. I miss you, but I will not forget you.